I'm Van Sebastian, here with my co-host S.A. Baz Collins. After a 2-week winter break, we're glad to see you again. This week's Written on the Edge, Season 11, Episode 4 interview will be joined by Sophie Haeder. That's right, she's back in the hot seat to discuss her latest novel, The Lurking Demon. So if you didn't hear her first episode, which I highly encourage, Sophie was born in 1992 and lives in picturesque countryside of Bavaria, Germany, where she embraces her nerdy nature alongside her roles as a wife and a mother of a little girl. With a lifelong passion for fantasy, encompassing everything from fairies to witches to trolls, she has found solace in imaginative play since childhood. Playing Dungeons and Dragons with her favorite group of nerds brings her immense joy, and this love of storytelling eventually led her to writing, a natural progression from her professional career as a marketing manager. She loves fantasy and art, and her writing combines all of her interests into one. That's why she did all the artwork for her books herself, including the cover, the map, and every other illustration. Sophie, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much for having me again. It's such a joy to chat with you guys.
And I get to have one of my favorite nerds back. Yay!
Yay.
Yes.
So, obviously your bio covers a lot of, how you got into writing,
Mm,
but it's still kind of a lonely craft and you do a lot of the work yourself. Can I ask
yes.
like where you keep finding that inspiration?
Um, I think I, I always had a very vivid imagination, but Dungeons and Dragons is really something that put me on another level, thinking about it differently in terms of like plotting and world building. Um, but also, I've always been very much obsessed with the great big fantasy authors, and they're kind of like tying the whole story together and plotting. And I love a good pace in a book and a mystery and high stakes. And that's what I really wanted to put into my books as well. Yeah.
Love it. So we're here to discuss The Lurking Demon, which is book 2 in the series, right?
Yes, book two.
What do we need to tell people? Like, again, let's assume there are some first-time listeners. What do we need to tell them about book 1 so they understand our conversation about book 2?
Yeah, so book one is very much about the land, the politics in the land. It was isolated. There were like corrupt rulers and elemental force that held them within the land. There was no connection to the outside. And throughout the book, we follow multiple people who became sort of heroes or anti-heroes, depending on if you're going to ask them, because they are not going to see themselves as heroes. And in the end, it's very dramatic. The sphere falls around Dohva, but there are numerous of new problems emerging because of that and their actions. Yes.
So book 2, The Lurking Demon, is 20 years later.
Yes, it is a huge time gap. Yeah.
So what do readers need to know about that time gap to jump into book 2? And we don't want to spoil book 2, but what do they need to
Yeah,
know
yeah.
about?
I think the most important thing is that our main protagonists, Avala, Sineth, and Kima, became the new magisters of Dohva. They try to unite the country. We have Madin and Karas as two like neighboring countries as part of this land, and there has always been conflict. And their goal was to reunite the whole people. And it's been difficult to say the least, and it's also difficult for them personally, so they undergo a growth but also finding new things about themselves that are going to have new problems coming up with them. And Avala and Sineth try to live a normal life together. They all start to like build like a routine to be a ruler and stuff, but it's not going to turn out well. And right at the start of the book, there are going to be high stakes again. The land is starting to tilt because of reasons they have to uncover. And also, there's a mysterious cult emerging who wants to take over the rule of the land, with the Eternal Prince as being the new leader. Yeah.
So when you say tilt, is it a political tilt or a physical, like something
It
shaking up the actual
is
earth?
a physical tilt, like it's a floating island and the
Hmm.
floating land is tilting. And yeah, there's like an introduction in the book, right, in the first chapter, where you can really feel how the land is shifting and how it's changing because of that. Yeah.
Nice. So again, to avoid spoilers, what were your goals for the characters' individual growths in this story? Because obviously each one's going to have a goal.
Yeah, that's a very good question. Um, I think my goal was to really get the reader even more closer to them, to understand what turmoils are inside their head, inside their hearts, because of all the decisions they have made in book one, but also what is going on in book two. And especially for the three of them as friends, there's going to be some difficulties where we are getting really close to their hearts. And also, Avala has a massive internal struggle that we are going to see carried out throughout the book. So, my goal was really to get the reader closer to their motives and to like a shift between we have good versus evil in the first book.
Hmm.
And in the second book, it's very much a mesh of gray. So, you
Nice.
don't know on which side you are going to be throughout the book. And evil might look very good at some point, and the good ones may not be. So,
Well, and that's one of the fun things to play with. I mean, even in Star
yeah,
Wars, the bad guys wore black, or sorry, the bad guys wore white. The stormtroopers were
yeah,
in white, but the good guys wore black.
yeah,
So they played with that a little bit,
yeah.
and it
I
sounds like you
love
did
that.
too.
Yeah,
Yes.
I love a good play.
So how did you poke their relationship structure?
um,
Because obviously
I
it needs to
think,
be tested.
yeah. I don't want to give away too much, so
Okay.
Sure.
I'm trying to be neutral.
And
Um, I think it was very important for me to dig in deeper into the friendship between Kima and Avala because I teased a lot of things in book one and I want to see that unfold in book two.
mhm,
And also with Avala and Sineth, who seemed like a soul match, might turn in a completely different way in this book, where there is like struggle between them, where there's like problems because of their own difficulties with themselves, and that is like transforming into the relationship as well, like you know flooding into there. You
mhm.
can't keep your emotions down, and sometimes even though you love somebody, it might not work out because you're not there yet.
Right.
So we're going to see some of that in the book.
Nice. And the third topic I have questions on, the cult you introduced. What
Yes.
can you share about it?
Yeah. So the we have a new character that starts right at the beginning. It's Ismir. And we have seen Ismir before in the epilogue of book one as a young boy, and he's now the leader of this cult of the Eternal Prince, who's like writing up people around the country and like feeding information to them that the magicians are not fit for the job and that this is the greater possibility and stuff. And we are going to see a lot of him as well and of his past and his way of interacting with his demon that is behind the Eternal Prince.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's very interesting because we are undergoing a huge journey for him throughout the
Okay.
book. It's interesting to see, I think, for the readers.
Nice. Is there a job title above Magister, or was that like the highest they could achieve?
It's the highest ranking. It's like a democracy. So
Hmm.
you have multiple leaders, like the magisters, and then they have a council from all like guilds who discuss all kinds of topics with them.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Guys, did you have questions?
I have a couple. One, I when I'm listening to you talk about the world and how you're developing it and growing it, it often reminds me of a book series that I read when I was much younger that
Mm.
had queer characters and stuff, and it was really, really well written. That's Mercedes Lackey's Voldemort series. And what's really interesting is that, and what I want to find out from you, the way she introduced, because it has a sun cult. So I'm kind of interested in how far forward looking when you wrote the first one. Did you already have seeds that you were planting for what has evolved 20 years later? Or was this an evolutionary part of writing book two 20 years and thinking, okay, where has it, so you can do it one of two ways. You can do it
Yeah.
organically, or you can do it like suddenly this thing happens, and so which path did you choose, and why did you make that choice?
I think it was a mix of both,
Oh, okay.
actually. With a lot of like scenes in book one, I already knew where I wanted to go with that. And then there were some where I was like, whoa, I love this idea, but I have no idea how it's going to turn out. So I'm also figuring some things out on the way. And sometimes I'm surprised by the actions of the characters myself.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
like, so
yeah.
is he really going to do that? It's like, well, it feels natural.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yep, uh-huh.
this is what's going to happen, I
Sometimes
guess.
they do dictate what they want
Yeah,
to do.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And sometimes I'm not happy with them, but it
Yeah.
is what it is.
Excellent, excellent. It's and the other thing I want to ask, and I'm not gonna go into spoilers because you've done a great job of explaining without giving spoilers away.
Mm.
But the people in the audience must know, as a D&D nerd, what was your verdict on the end of Stranger Things?
I actually haven't seen it.
Oh my gosh!
Yes, and you know why? Because I'm not a huge horror fan. And
Oh.
it just got too dark for me. I
Oh,
was really
really?
creeped out, yeah. And I have very vivid imagination, and if I watch something that terrifies me, it's going to haunt me forever. So, so
Okay.
I have to be in the right mood to watch this series. I think I just watched season one and two and then stopped because it became so creepy.
Mhm.
I just couldn't take it.
Well, the reason why I asked is because season five really leaned into a lot of the D&D themes, and a
Oh,
lot
that's
of it.
great.
Also brought in the book Wrinkle in Time, and so I'm always curious how fellow D&D enthusiasts um, felt about how the Duffer Brothers applied the D&D rules to the series, and they think of it, because I think D&D people have a vested interest in that show because it's a good representation of the community.
Yeah, I really love that part of the show.
Yeah, yeah.
And now that you're saying the season five is so much in it about D&D, I might have to watch it with my eyes covered part time, maybe. Yeah. So,
Yeah. Yeah, the horror and creep factors remained. The heroes win in the end. So there's a hopeful ending.
Right.
okay, yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah, it has. I think it has a decent, for me. I only played D&D a couple of times, so I get the world and I get how people apply the rules and how it works and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Um, but for me, I'm always curious when I meet another fellow D&Der how they felt about the way that the Duffers played with it, because they came from an era that's what people did, that you played a lot of D&D, and I think it's kind of
yeah,
nice that they kind of reinvigorated the community, so that sorry, my cat's doing a video bomb. um uh they reinvigorated people's interest in what D&D is all about.
yeah.
And so I think that's kind of cool that they did it for the gaming community and gave them another voice in that era. So I was just curious how, if you had seen it and what you
Well,
thought about it, because I wanted to get your opinion on it.
so taking that a step further into Sophie's work, Sophie, how close to the D&D rules did you stick while writing your characters?
Oh, good
Like,
point.
did you envision the Magisters have set spell slots, or did you not get that
Um,
deep into it?
at the first book, I had a lot of D&D rules and things, and I also had the characters completely, plotted out for D&D purposes as well.
Uh-huh.
But then I was like, oh, I think it's too close, because they are like, Wizard of the Coast. There are a lot of rules about that,
Uh-huh.
what you can say and what you can use and what not, and it was too hot.
It's
So I
fair.
dialed it back a lot for book 1, and then for book 2, I just intentionally didn't go too hard into that D&D part, because I didn't want to trip myself over
Right.
to replotting stuff because I couldn't say it the way I wanted to in a D&D way.
Right.
So I leaned a bit back on that, but I think still what I get as a feedback is it's very much like a bit of Baldur's Gate or also Final Fantasy. So you get the nerdy stuff. It's
Nice.
still very much in that area, but it's not like 100% ruled out D&D stuff, because it's just, yeah,
Nice.
not good.
Well, is there anything about the lurking demon that we didn't think to ask, but that you would like readers to know?
I think what's really cool there is going to be some dragons involved again. A council
Nice.
of gold dragons are going to come into the picture, and there are going to be some tough decisions with the Gold Dragon Council from Underearth. That's really cool. And also there is a chapter that is going to be underwater, where
Ooh.
some of the characters are going to be transformed into mer people, which is really cool.
You got to play
And
with a lot this time.
yes, because I love like world building and scene setting and descriptions like that. And some of our characters are going to end up in the abyss. So this is a new setting as
You
well.
hopped planes. You hopped
Yes,
planes.
I hopped planes, and also continents, because we have a new continent called Samantir,
Uh-huh.
um, with a new map inside the book, obviously. Also a new map of Dohva, because the landscape changed since the first book.
Right.
So I think you're going to enjoy a lot more world building as well in the second book. The world is going to get bigger.
That sounds wonderful and rich and intriguing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And who doesn't love a good dragon?
There you
Right.
go. There you
Who
go.
doesn't love us?
Oh.
All right. Well, on that note of creativity, are you ready for this year's Get to Know You questions?
Yes, please.
Very nice.
All right, before we get to that, just one quick reminder that if you're enjoying what we're doing here, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, do all the things, let your friends and family know about what we have going on here with all of these marvelous creators who are creating great content for our community and for mainstream at large. Also, you can support us in many ways because there are costs involved with this, and any little bit that you can spare really helps. And we know times are tough, so we've even got a plan for that. So you can go to patreon.com/rope podcast where you can get full reactions by Albert and myself that we react to queer media, and you get to see our reactions to it in real time. And then you can also go to buymeacoffee.com/rope podcast if you just want to do a quick one-time donation. We totally love it. Just dig around in the couch for whatever coins you find and throw them our way. We would love that. And lastly, for those who are budget conscious, because we know times are financially tough for everybody, we have memberships on YouTube, which are only at 99 cents a month. So there's 3 ways that you can definitely help us out. So with all of that in mind, let's get to this year's questions. What book, film, or piece of art that has had the biggest influence on your writing style?
I think it has to be Game of Thrones or The Song of Ice and Fire. It's also here, well, there, in the
As she aims with her finger.
in the background. Um, I just loved the plotting, the world building, the multiple POVs, the characters. I think he's done a great job of building an amazing world, and I think it had a a massive impact on the way I wanted to write. Yes.
Okay. What fictional slash historical character would you invite to a march with you at Pride Parade?
It has to be Kima, you know?
Oh, well, there
My
you
girl
go.
Kima from my books. She's just so sweet, so kind, and so fun to be around. And also, if you're on a wagon, she could create like really cool magical effects, for
Well,
the
there you
pride,
go.
like a rainbow or something would be cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, if you and your protagonist had to survive a gay bar karaoke night, what song would you or they belt out?
Um, I'm going to stick with Kima here, and she is going to sing I Will Always Love You from Whitney Houston, and she's
Oh,
going to belt it into the direction of Avala, like
Ah,
Lorelai Gilmore did in Gilmore Girls
yeah,
2.
yeah, uh-huh,
Do
uh-huh.
you know that
Yep,
scene?
yes, yep,
Yeah.
yep, absolutely. All right, all right. Well, what's a piece, real or imagined, what's a place, sorry, real or imagined that feels like home to you and why?
I've been to Scotland last year, and it just hit my heart differently. I just love the wild landscape, especially on the North Atlantic coast. It's just unimaginably beautiful. You look around, it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And also, it just has this rich folklore that I love about, fairies and unicorns and silkies and all the others. And I just dig that so much.
Love
You
it.
can really feel it there.
Yeah, love it.
The magic.
Okay, well, what's the strangest or most unexpected place you've ever found inspiration? I can't read the rest of the question because my cat is now in front of the list. Lie down.
or a story.
Thank you
Or
for a work of yours. Sorry.
it's all
I put
good.
in the one place on the
Uh,
screen that I thought she would never go stand in front of, and she just goes, "Oh, I'm going to go over there."
yeah.
So, which one?
I think it's going to be my bed actually. And just the moment before you fall asleep, I
Ooh,
dream
good
quite
idea.
vividly, and you can sort of narrate it. You're still conscious
Gently
enough to
shove it in a certain direction.
yeah, you know what I mean. And then I switch the light back on and just like mad scribble into a notepad here, my little back notepad. Um, and a lot of these ideas have turned into scenes in the books. So it really works. Some of them are
Nice.
not good, and some of them are really interesting. And like, of course, they need a lot of polishing, but the idea is good most of
Okay.
the times.
All right. Well, which themes or motifs do you find yourself returning to again and again in your works?
As I really love to work with the characters, and it's something that I think every one of us can understand. It's like the feeling of losing oneself and then reflecting and emerging as someone new, like shedding your skin and becoming a truer version of yourself. And I think this is happening for all my characters again and again throughout the story, to like develop naturally inside of the story. Yeah.
Love that.
Nice.
Love that. All right. Finally, what's a piece of LGBTQ culture, music, film, art, or history that never fails to inspire you?
That's a good one. Um, do you know the Rocky Horror Picture scene in Perks of Being a Wallflower?
Mm-hmm.
I love that in the movie, especially. I love Emma Watson. And it's just a moment when they're on stage and you see that freedom. And it resembles to me like you can truly be yourself among your chosen family. Like they are friends, they know each other, they accept each other how they are. And I think you can really feel that on that stage in the movie. I love that.
Excellent. Well, you made it through
Yeah.
our list. Bravo.
Bravo.
Yay.
So this book is just out now. Like it's
Yeah,
brand new to the world,
yesterday.
right?
Yes, it's born.
So, so do you have other appearances or like book signings or anything you want to announce? Or is it still too early for that?
Yeah, so you already said the big one. It's like here,
Yay!
The Lurking Demon, and also there's a German version,
Perfect.
Der lauernde Dämon. And there's some awesome news as well coming up the next weeks. I'm going to start a Kickstarter for the audiobook for The Land Within.
Oh, there you go.
I
Yay.
found an amazing narrator, Dee Castilian. She already recorded a 15-minute sample of The Land Within. And yeah, I'm going to set that up during the next week, probably. And yeah, I hope to get some support to make it happen, and also to support real artists, real
Yes.
narrators,
Yes.
no
Yes.
AI stuff. She's really
Yes.
great, and she's doing an amazing job. And I think that's also something we have to stick together, you guys.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So, where is the best place for people to catch up with your updates, but also like link to your Kickstarter and follow any upcoming news?
Yes, so I'm very active on Instagram, and also I have a news and reviews page on my website where I put something up. Yeah, so my website is a very good point to get to, and also Instagram, yeah.
And it is your name in both places, so sophiehaeder.com or Instagram/Sophie Haeder.
Yes.
Perfect. Do you have
Yeah.
any final words of wisdom?
Oh, you
Okay, now
guys,
you got to be
just
smart.
Just wise. We're not asking for anything else, just some wisdom.
yeah, some wisdom. I think in these times, it's very important to stick to the community, to each other, to support each other in the LGBTQI plus community, but also as creatives who put out content in times of AI. We just have to be each other's cheerleader. Yeah.
And remember our humanity most of all.
Yes, remember our
Yes.
humanity and be kind to each other. If everyone is just a bit kinder, it would be a better world. Yeah.
That
That
shouldn't
part.
be that difficult a concept.
That part.
Yes.
Yep.
All right, well, we would like to extend a huge thank you to Sophie Haeder for coming back, sharing her latest novel, being here with us, and dispensing all of her wisdom and light into the world. Sophie, thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, for us too. All right, folks, we at Written on the Edge are proud to introduce you to new media by queer content creators. If you enjoy learning about new artists or hearing our thoughts on entertainment media, please like and subscribe so you get the alerts for new episodes. Our show is produced by Rogue Ravens Media. For our disclaimers, links to social media, our listen stations, or to sign up as a guest, visit www.rotepodcast.com. Tune in next week for your queer media fix.
Bye now.
Bye.
Oh, what's that? Closing time. The bums rush in melody, dear.